Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Glory Glory Man United podcast. I'm your host, as always, Kyle Quinn. And joining me today is my regular co host, Brushy. How's it going, mate?
Glory, glory in name only, Kyle. That's how it's going.
Yeah, I was going to say that myself, but I feel like I've said it too many times. You know,
Yeah. It's like we take one step forward and like five backwards.
you can say that again.
Hmm.
Uh, so, I'm going to start off by talking about the shock departure of Dan Ashworth, and then the second part of the show, I'm going to talk about the Nottingham Forest game and our observations from that.
Hmm.
And maybe take a wee look ahead at the Europa League match that's coming up on Thursday. But so the news broke on Sunday morning that Dan Ashworth has left his role as director of football at Manchester United after just 5 months in the job, which is ludicrous given that United spent 6 months trying to get him into the job. So he spent more time on gardening leave than he did as director of football at United. So I've been making sure I've done all my homework here, listening to all the reports from Sky, the Athletic, the MEN to try and piece together what has happened behind the scenes that has led to this outcome. And a few things have jumped out at me, and it's ludicrous that in February, Jim Radcliffe called Dan Ashworth a world class director of football. Um, so that's completely at odds with the guy who's just been sacked 5 months in. Um, so Jim Radcliffe wants the recruitment to be the best in the world. Um, Dan and Jim had very different views on transfer targets. For example, Dan Ashworth did not want United to sign Xerxes or Matthias de Ligt. Um, Dan Ashworth did not want United to pursue Ruben Amorim and wanted to bring in Gareth Southgate or Graham Potter or an Eddie Howe. Um, and for that reason, it seems, was left out of the recruitment process. As everyone knows, Omar Barada flew out to Lisbon for talks, and Dan Ashworth was not even involved in that process, which is extraordinary for a director of football, and that would normally come under the director of football's remit. And it's given me the impression that this is very much done. It's very much Jim Ratcliffe's club. It's starting to remind me of Chelsea's Abramovich, where he's making football decisions, and I feel as if with you have you have Ashworth. We did have Ashworth. You have Omar Barada. You have Radcliffe. You have Wilcox. There's that guy from Red Bull that they brought in on a temporary basis who may be made permanent. There's just so many people, and I feel as if too many cooks spoil the broth, and that seems to be what's happened. And one of the cooks has been let go. And yeah, it's not a good look for United that the director of football has departed after so little time in the job. Another thing that I picked up on was that Dan Ashworth wanted to bring in data firms to overhaul United's approach to player data. That was vetoed by Jim Radcliffe. And it very much seems as if Omar Barada is the kingmaker who Radcliffe values more than the director of football. And again, so we're without a director of football again, and it feels as if Omar Barada is making a lot of decisions. Who's the CEO? That's almost reminiscent of the Ed Woodward era, where the CEO was the kingmaker and making a lot of football decisions. Uh, Obviously, I think Barada's more qualified than Woodward, but we're back. We're back to being a club that doesn't utilize a director of football. Clearly, because he wasn't even consulted on my decisions, and now they've got rid of him straight after the game on Saturday. So, what is your views on this, Brush? This absolute fiasco?
Utter shambles from the outside looking in. Um, like you say, I think it says everything when we chased him for longer than he was at the club. It took 6 months to get this deal over the line, and he was here for 5 months. Um, what is there to say? Like you say, in regards to there being too many chefs in the kitchen, I think that's definitely the case. And there was clearly a clash of personalities there. Um, the only light I can shed on this, and positive, if you can even call it that, is the fact that they've highlighted that something was wrong. and they've moved swiftly to address it. Whereas I think in under the previous regime, we would have stuck by the mistake for a lot longer.
Well, then that tells me that they didn't do the homework on Ashworth. He was the number one guy they wanted for this role, and they pursued him for so long. It cost them 3 million in the end to get him out of
Hmm.
his contract at Newcastle. It was such a public pursuit as well, and got into a battle with Newcastle, and now they've got rid of him before the end of the year. He only started on July the 1st, and
Yeah.
on December the 8th, he's gone.
And we've
Uh,
had so many little things come out since yesterday, Carl, about about Ashworth's his stance on a few things, including potential candidates who he wanted in the job. We've heard names like Gareth Southgate mentioned and Eddie Howe. And then also he was also a fan of keeping Ten Hag in. So do you think that would have played a part in them throwing him under the bus?
Quite possibly, yeah. But then we have to remember that they'd already decided to keep Ten Hag in mid June. Ashworth didn't officially start until July the 1st. So, yes, on July the 4th, he was given a contract extension for 1 year, but that surely can't be pinned on Ashworth.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, now we're hearing that, uh, after the FA Cup win, there were still doubts apparently. But then, as we know, he ended up signing a contract. So I wonder if they place Dan at the heart of that, and maybe some of the decisions in the summer, which has all gone pear shaped anyway. With likes of Van Nistelrooy coming in, Hake coming in, and it all being torn up and entirely just moving in a different direction.
So do you think he's been made the scapegoat for all the mistakes that have been made over in the last 6 months?
Potentially, yeah. And like I say, you can't have too many people with differing opinions. Everybody has to be on the same page, right? So I think there was a personality clash, and that's what's resulted in this. Obviously, we look like absolute clowns to the rest of the footballing world, but there are going to be teething problems. They're trying to get things right. They're trying to do a lot in a very short amount of time. But then, when I look across to the likes of Chelsea now, they've been an utter shambles on paper, or when you look at it from the outside under Todd Bowley over the last 2 years. Uh, you know, over 1 billion spent and that, but now finally they seem to have some level of normality, and they're second in the league, just 4 points on the top.
I feel as if that we won't get that lucky. uh,
No, possibly not, but I can only assume that's the kind of thing they're aiming for in trying to make all these changes. They're just trying to chop and change until everything fits.
well, Omar Brada did admit that we will make mistakes, and boy, was he right about that.
Hmm.
It's just been an unbelievable 48 hours. I thought that when we did this show after the weekend, that the conversation would be very much about the game itself, but it has been totally overshadowed by the shock departure of the director of football after so
Yeah,
little
you'd
time in the
think we'd
job.
have enough to dissect with two back-to-back defeats, but then this news yesterday morning, it's just another spanner in the works.
Yeah, just can't believe it, to be honest. And it doesn't. It tells me that I am a bit concerned now that they don't know
And
what
I'll
they're
tell
doing.
you what, yeah, I'll tell you what, Carl, one or two of the other things that have come out as well, because you know what happens on the Twitter timeline. Once news breaks, everybody just starts, going mental with all the little hot takes and things and the research that they do. And there were some interesting stats actually on his time at Nice, Sajim, because they went through managers like just popping confetti and that. So there was a lot of changes over there.
Yes, and that's where my real concern begins.
Hmm.
Is that how much time is Ruben Amorim going to get? Because as you said, we're on back-to-back Premier League defeats now. Our next Premier League game is away to City, albeit they're not in great form themselves. That's potentially three Premier League defeats on the bounce. Um, if we continue to be, as poor as this at the end of the season, Jim Ratcliffe could then just get rid of Ruben Amorim as well. The way things are going, and I
Which will
wouldn't.
be insane.
Yeah, I would not be in favor of that at all. Uh, this is why I was making the Abramovich comparison, because first of all, he seems to be very hands on, and he said that he
Hmm.
wouldn't be, that he would leave football decisions to football people. And secondly, he is not qualified to be making these decisions,
Hmm.
and yet he seems to be very, very much involved. So it does worry me, um, that we could end up in a hiring and firing process. Who knows? Omar Barada himself could find himself sacked in a few months. So
Yeah.
just strap in. This could be well like Abramovich's Chelsea in the coming years and months.
Mm. If that's the case, then we just have to hope and pray that we find our Marina, because she's someone who brought a lot of stability to that club for a long time.
Yeah, Marina Baristea. I'm not good at pronunciation when it comes to certain names. I know,
Hence why I just opted for the first name.
yeah, yeah. It's quite a long surname.
Yeah,
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 I think people will
yeah.
know who
She
we're
she was
talking about.
basically Roman's right hand, but she did a lot of the business dealings and stuff during a successful period for them.
Yeah, you would hear her name a lot on
Hmm.
podcasts and YouTube channels, and journalists would talk about her a lot because they would be familiar. But yeah, it's quite a lengthy name and difficult to
Yeah.
pronounce. Um, I know the Monsecutioner here says that the only thing I have a problem with is that we spent a long time going back and forth with Newcastle to get this guy. Yes, as I mentioned earlier, which is embarrassing, really, that he's gone after putting in
Hmm.
so much effort to get him. Um, UFTV says, yeah, but Nice is on a whole different level, to be honest. They're not a massive club like United are. Some of the managers are also not of that ilk. And he also says it seems like Barada made the decision due to a personality clash. Jim is the
Yeah.
one who gave the go ahead to pull the trigger, in my opinion. Yeah, and another thing that's came out in the last 24 hours is that the other directors like Wilcox and Barada and Jim himself, of course, Dave Brailsford and John Claude Blanc and the other guy from Red Bull, I think Christopher or something. Um, they are very assertive personalities.
Hmm.
They're not backward in terms of coming forward. Whereas apparently Dan Ashworth is very passive and didn't really fit in personality wise.
Again, these are things. Surely, if they did their due diligence, they would have known this about him. No.
Yeah, I mean, how can you call him a world class director of football in February and then decide he's not the guy for you in the same year? Surely you've done enough homework to know how good. No, do you know what this gives me the impression that Jim
Mm.
Radcliffe had heard how good Ashworth is without
Yeah.
actually doing any actual research.
Especially because there's a plethora of directors out there, and they identified Dan as the man they want, despite the fact that he was contractually obligated to Newcastle. So then you'd think they would done all of the work they needed to do, right?
Yeah, you think he seemed to be not just a number one target, but their only
Hmm.
target.
Yeah,
So how could a few months down the line could they say that he didn't fit in? He wasn't the right
exactly.
guy.
And even with like his shortlist and stuff that's coming out now about apparently him favoring other more British managers and that. Surely this is something that you would have discussed with him in the interview process. Surely you would have played out scenarios of what would happen if we had to move on from Ten Hag, like to, pick his brain on what kind of ideas he had.
Yeah, absolutely. See, none of this makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, because the
And
club statement as well. I mean, it was a bit here, there, and everywhere, wasn't it? Like I don't know. I think we have to read between the lines to try and make sense of it. I
very,
think
very
something might have gone on, which we are not privy to.
well. I watched Match of the Day 2 last night, and apparently it had been brewing for a few weeks behind the scenes, and then
Probably since Ten Hag sacking, I presume, or from when they decided to go and approach Amarim.
yeah,
Uh,
look at it this way: they've decided to ignore his recommendations and go
yep,
after Amarim.
yep.
Was he basically means he's being sidelined? So I could
Hmm.
say tensions were simmering as soon as that happened. He wasn't even involved in the recruitment process of a new manager. A director of football wasn't involved. You know, from that moment onwards, it's basically the writing was on the wall. Really, when
Hmm.
we didn't know it, but behind the scenes, the writing was on the wall. Because if you're recruiting a manager without the director of football being involved, it's just an extraordinary situation.
Hmm.
And
And there's already
he's
like
clear.
paper talk and links to other DOFs, but I don't even know if that's the right thing to do at this moment in time. I kind of just need some time for like the dust to settle.
Yeah, I agree. And as I said, there seems to be too many cooks anyway. Maybe they should
Hmm.
just you know trot along for the next 6 months with the people that they have, and then maybe make a decision at the end. And it seems
Yeah,
that Omar Barada is almost the de facto director of football
yeah,
anyway.
yeah. To be honest, there's different structures that work at different clubs. Like, there's no one size fits all when it comes to this director stuff.
And yeah, and just to reply to what UFTV is saying here, wanting Southgate to be Man United manager is a sackable offence anyway. So
Yes. I mean, yeah,
mm,
I did jokingly say that as well. The first thing as soon as I read the links to Gareth Southgate, I was like, yeah, if he recommended Gareth Southgate, then yeah, that's sackable in itself.
and then Eddie Howe was also on his list, as was Graham Potter. Uh, there's a pattern here. First of all, he seems to favour British targets on people that he's worked with in a previous capacity. And this fits into what I was thinking of previously, is that his he's been at West Brom, he's been at Brighton, he's been at Newcastle. None of these institutions even compare to the size of Manchester United. So maybe this job was too big for him anyway, might you say, Brush?
I don't even know, to be honest, because surely when we were targeting him, we looked at the profile of players he was getting in for these clubs, right, and thought he could do something similar for us. But how the hell can you judge after 5 months? With a
Well, what
DOF, I feel like you need to give them a few years.
well, what I'm saying is in terms of managers, he's looking to appoint mid-table targets, not Manchester United quality managers. If you know what I mean. So that tells me
Yep.
he's not the right guy for the job,
Hmm.
and that's why he was sidelined in the recruitment process.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And if his knowledge is all domestic based and his knowledge is limited in terms of the foreign market, that's also a concern for a club of our size.
so I don't like to see a guy lose his job, especially so soon. But it doesn't sound to me as if he was the right man for the job. And I know it's brutal, I know it's ruthless, but I suppose it's better. I think you said earlier, it's better to make the decision now than to drag it out for 6 months. So they've been absolutely ruthless with this decision. And I even heard from the MEN that he was basically frogged March off the premises after the game against Forest.
Wow.
That's what? Yeah, somebody seen him walking through the press room, and he looked pretty dejected. And he was probably on
Mm,
his way to meeting Omar Barada, and maybe he knew what was coming.
hmm.
Um, this wouldn't have came out of the blue, I would say. I'm sure this was probably something that was simmering in the background for a few weeks. But we obviously, as fans, and were not privy to what was going on until now. So yeah, if Omar Barada is heavily involved in the recruitment process of managers, um you have the guy from Red Bull heavily involved in recruiting players, and Jason Wilcox as well, then maybe he can just be replaced from within, and there's no need to bring an
Hmm.
external person in. And also, an external person seeing how ruthless Man United are at the moment, they may think, oh, I could come in here and not have a job in 4 months, so maybe I'll stay away from that one and go somewhere else. Um,
Yeah, definitely. And you'd have to sit down, even if they did want to bring somebody in, you'd have to sit down and iron these things out before they come on board.
well, they didn't do that the last time, it seems.
Well, yeah, yeah, clearly. Because already today I've been hearing links. I don't know how truthful it is. I've taken it with a pinch of salt, to be honest. Even Ralph Ragnick's been linked.
That ain't going to happen
Yeah.
because he's already been at the club,
Hmm.
and he was supposed to be a director. Remember at the end of his interim manager role,
We were all hoping for that. That's the role that that he would have been best suited to.
and then that was cancelled. So why would he even trust Man United? To be honest, I
Hmm.
know there's Jim Ratcliffe's now there, but instead of the Glazers, but I would say all trust has been broken with the club. I just don't see that happening at all. And he's still the manager of Austria, isn't he? As far as I
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
So he's in.
yeah.
I think.
It sets a dangerous precedent as well. Now that's the thing. I think some of those employees may be walking around on eggshells. But yeah, we'll have to see. Time will tell.
Yeah, and I believe that the Christmas party has been cancelled, and we've
Mm.
seen so many cancellations at United, and
Hmm.
so many funding cuts, including the Disability Supporters Trust, who get 40 grand a year, and that's been cut to 20 grand a year. What
That's
really does?
disgraceful.
I mean, the reputational damage there is not worth the money that they're saving. 20 grand.
And
It,
in the grand scheme of things, what is that? Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
I mean that wouldn't even pay Johnny Evans his weekly wage. So what
we
is
we
even the point?
we paid 3 million in compensation for Dan, and he's gone after 5 months. But you haven't got an extra 20 grand for this.
Yeah, it's an absolute outrage.
Yeah.
And another thing that's really pissed me off is the they're now charging £66 for a
Hmm.
ticket, including kids. And he's tried to justify it by saying that Ma- Fulham fans should not be paying more than Man United fans. Well, first of all, um, I think their ticket in their new stand at Craven Cottage is somewhere between 80 and £85. Firstly, the fans at Fulham were not very happy about this, and secondly, that's an affluent area of London. Manchester is a working class city, so we should, local fans in Manchester should not be expected to pay London prices. Uh, so,
Absolutely.
so it just, do you know what's beginning to show me? And it's not going to surprise too many people that this billionaire is completely out of touch with the ordinary person.
Mm.
And
Also, these are business people, Carl. That's what we have to keep in mind. Ultimately, for them, the only thing that matters is, the bottom dollar. They will do everything in their power to make this profitable. And unfortunately, now that's not your everyday fan who can just about afford to go. You know, they would rather go and get like visiting tourists and people that come for the attraction who are likely to spend more in one go, opposed to someone who has like a season ticket who's there every week.
yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, because when somebody cannot attend who's a season ticket holder
Yeah.
and they notify the club, they will sell
Hmm.
that ticket for possibly hundreds.
Mm.
They turn it into like a VIP package and sell it for hundreds of
Yeah.
pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
yeah,
that's how.
yeah. Take this for example. Yeah. See. Even the cheap side of season tickets. Yeah. Say it's like 700-800 pounds or whatever. Like you might get a tourist family or someone come twice a year, and each time they come, they might spend 500-600 pounds. So just them visiting twice a year in a season would be more profitable for them on paper.
Yeah, exactly.
Who
And
who who then spend on merchandise and food and everything else for the experience.
another thing worth mentioning is that in 1970, the average age of the Old Trafford crowd was 17. It is now 45 and over 50 in the main stand. So they're now they're pricing out young people, and
Yeah, yeah. Young
even more.
people cannot afford to go to the games anymore, bro. Not on a regular basis. They can't do that no more. You have to
And
be
that's
financially stable and settled in order to be able to afford these things.
and now that there's no difference between the price of a kid's ticket and an adult ticket. You know,
It's madness.
parents are not going to be able to bring their kids anymore. Uh,
No.
in some cases, and you know, if it's a not to be ageist, but if it's a very old crowd on average, you know, that's going to affect the atmosphere.
Oh,
In
absolutely. Yeah, you're going to be a bit quieter. It's not going to be as loud.
Yeah, because it's very much teenagers and people in their 20s
Hmm.
who probably um, sing a lot. You see when you see the away crowd, the 3,000 fans to go to all the away
Hmm.
games. A lot of them are young people, and they would enhance the atmosphere quite a lot. So uh, I would hate for Old Trafford to become this big soulless ground like the Etihad,
Mm.
like a library, where it's all like the older generation on tourists and no young people, from the UK there, because they've been priced out. That would be a real shame.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, you shouldn't be pricing out any demographic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, there should be a price point for everyone. To be fair.
yeah, and pensioners as well should be getting a discount, in my opinion.
Hmm.
But I'm sure Jim Radcliffe has done away with that too. It's just going to be a one size fits all ticket now. It seems at Old Trafford. But another thing I wanted to mention was that if the they wouldn't pay for the players' families to go to Wembley in May. They cancelling the end of season awards. They're cancelling the Christmas parties. This is not going to do anything positive for morale at the club, which is already low. In fact, they're doing the exact opposite. They're killing the morale around the football club and the dressing room. Um, you know, you want, first of all, we want players to win games and climb that table and win trophies, but we want them to have fun as well. And
Definitely. And then, I mean, this is an issue under the old regime as well. Do you remember when they cancelled everything, and we didn't even appreciate what the girls' team were doing because they actually did quite well, but they got everything cancelled as well because the men's team were pants.
yeah, that was disgraceful as well. That their end of season awards was also cancelled. Well, it's on the same night, of course, so they were
Yeah, and
unfairly punished.
honestly, these kind of things, I think these annual things, they have to exist. You can't just, it can't be dependent on form, for the reasons that you mentioned, like for team morale and stuff. I can understand not wanting to celebrate, you know, grandiose, but you still need to have some kind of events and things in place.
I mean, we're one step away here from the Man United Foundation being cancelled.
Mm.
That's how brutal
And
Jim.
also, yeah, why is it that just the players have to get celebrated? How about in these sort of events like Christmas, you celebrate the staff, the everyday people, like the CAFs of this world. RIP. That's another big loss this week.
Yeah, it's we've seen lots of current players and former players and
Hmm.
managers and coaches, you know, pay the respects to Kev.
Everyone's got a story. I'll tell you what, it was a really nice touch by Elanga as well. Elanga laid some flowers. He had a message on his shirt as well. I thought that was very classy by the young man. And
Yeah,
yeah, you can go back all the way to the Fergie years, and even the likes of David Beckham to Ollie Solskjaer. They all know CAF.
yeah, and I think that it was a nice touch by Forest to choose Alanga to be the one to bring the wreath to the center of the
Hmm.
pitch with Bruno Fernandes. I think that was the right call because
Definitely.
rather than the captain of Forest doing it, it was better that it was a former United player that did it who knew Kath himself.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm. And yeah, how many more people are like that are there at Old Trafford that makes this whole machine go round? The ones that you don't hear about on a day-to-day basis who interact with the kids.
well, 250 of those were made redundant, weren't they, in the summer by
Hmm.
Jim Ratcliffe?
Hmm.
Mm, so yeah, I get the feeling that even if we are successful in the end, Jim Ratcliffe is still not going to be popular. He's just going to, but he'll not lose any sleep over that. If
Yeah.
if Man United win the treble or win like a Champions League and League double, he will still be as unpopular as he is today. But because that's the type of personality that he is, but he won't care. He just wants to be successful at all costs. But that's not my philosophy. It's not what I believe in. I don't believe in success at all costs. I believe that people should be treated right.
Yeah.
Um, but we know what these billionaires are like, and none of
Hmm.
this really surprises me. So I want to come on to the game against Forest, unfortunately,
Yeah.
and there's so many things to break down in terms of that performance.
Hmm.
So I'll do chronological order. The first goal after what a couple of minutes from a corner again. So this goes to prove that the two goals from corners against Arsenal was not just because Arsenal are excellent at corners; it's because we are bad at defending corners. Um,
Oh, it was
and
disgusting. Listen, against Arsenal, as much as I hated it, you kind of have to respect it. They found they found a flaw, and they're using it to their advantage. It's now up to the opposition to come up with a solution.
and what's a concern is that the new coach Carlos Fernandez is in
Hmm.
charge of set pieces, and he's adopting this zonal marking approach.
Uh, and
And
also, Carl, against Forest, who the hell thought it would be a good idea for Lissandro Martinez to go up against Milinkovic, who's 6'5"?
yeah, there is a 9 inch difference.
Like honestly, the mind boggles. Like this is simple stuff. Like why? Why would you get one our shorter centre back to mark a guy who's 6'5"? Ah,
And all he could do was try to foul him, which he did.
yep.
Um, and once again, Delict come to help out, but is far too
Hmm.
late and too passive. Um, you know, to me, Delict, and not just that incident, but in general, he doesn't attack the ball enough. To give Harry Maguire's credit, he's very good in the air at defending and attacking. But Delict, I'm afraid, does he's for a guy of that height isn't great in the air, especially when
Mm.
it comes to defending. He's
It's
not
because with
aggressive
Harry,
enough.
it's
He's
because
not
with Harry,
aggressive
he
enough.
just yeah, with Harry, he just puts his body in the way, right? Like I don't know how cognizant he is of what he does. He just literally just puts his body in the way.
But when it crosses come into the box, or corners come into the box, Harry Maguire
Hmm.
wins a lot of headers. The Ligt, I'm afraid, does not do that often enough and is often
No.
beaten to the ball. You remember how Vidic would attack the ball. He
Yep.
he wouldn't matter who was in his way. He would
Hmm.
force them all out of his way to win that header. De Ligt does not do that. In fact, he's starting to remind me of a tall Victor Lindelof. Far too passive. Yeah,
Just no aggression, yeah. Okay.
and for such a guy with such a big frame as well, gets gets bullied a wee bit too. Yeah, it's just
For me, I was thinking, yeah. See, in terms of his frame and stuff, I figure I always give him a season to like adapt to this league because I remember the first 6 months when we had Nemanja and Evra actually, and they looked well out of their depth before they adapted. So I'm hoping that that improves on the training ground, whether it be nutrition in the gym. They obviously need to bulk up a bit, become stronger. But I'm hopeful that that's something he can work on.
yeah. Um, I think at the very least he'll be a rotational option, but
Hmm.
really we want him. We really wanted him to be a first choice centre half, but I think we're probably going to sign somebody in the summer because I think Evans and Lindelof will move on and we'll bring somebody else in.
Yeah, we
Um,
have to, and obviously with Maguire, I mean, I think he'll probably stay because we do have a 1 year option on him. But yeah, his
yeah,
contract's running down, and he's 31 now. So if he decides he wants to, go somewhere and be a first teamer for the last couple of seasons of his career, that could be another one that needs replacing.
yeah, Maguire's kind of 50-50 at the minute, but the
Yeah,
the the issue with giving him the +1
mm.
is that it's going to be the same wage, and
Same wages, yeah.
I don't think he's worth that wage anymore.
Hmm. But then if you reduce the wages, you probably have to give him a longer contract, right? And all parties
Yeah,
have to accept.
big decision to be made there. But with a 3-4-3 formation, we need at least 5 or 6 centre halves at the club. So Maguire may be kept on because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I can see that happening. And also, when you play in a back three, you need an extra centre back, right? And with everything that needs doing with our squad, I'm not sure if the budget will allow all these things to happen.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. Um, and I'm going to get on to the goalkeeper now. And
Yeah.
the first thing to say is that he's had a really good season up until this point. But
Hmm.
what we seen on Saturday was a return to the Unana from the Champions League campaign last year.
Yep.
absolutely abysmal. What was that? That Morgan Gibbs White shot? I mean, was he wearing a blindfold? Uh,
Ah, I mean, a calamity of errors here. I'll start off with Lenny Euro, because the position he took up, not receiving the pass, rookie mistakes. But again, the kid's 18, right? I'm not expecting him to be polished.
uh,
So there was a calamity. There was there was that Bruno giving the ball away. But yeah, the shot that was straight at him. I don't know what to tell you. I've always told you, Carl. Like this season overall, I think he has been good. And we've been on here, we've been harsh critics of him since he arrived. And even we said, you know what, he's actually putting in some good performances. But then, he's not too far from these errors. He's got that gene in him, unfortunately. So this is a part of his game, and you have to accept it. I don't think he can iron these out. He will always have one of these.
yeah, I can accept throughout the course of a season a goalkeeper making minor errors here and there, but
It's big
un-
errors, big errors.
that is unacceptable to me at the top level.
Yeah. Yeah. And people can say, oh, in other games, he saved us points. But then what use is it if you give it away in other games? You know?
Yeah, and yeah, Bruno gave the ball away initially that
Yeah.
led to that goal. It was
Yeah.
Lenny Yarrow was trying to play a 1-2 with Bruno, and
Mhm.
Bruno the pass back to him was abysmal.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and then Morgan Gibbs has
Mhm.
a shot from distance, which and then Onana does his Taibbi impression, and it ends up in the back of the net.
He had all the time in the world. All the time.
And then this happens in every game where he makes a mistake. He then
Yep.
implodes,
Yep.
uh,
Yep.
and it's like he's trying really hard to make up for it, and then he makes
Mhm.
more mistakes.
Mhm.
And another frustration of mine was right at the end of the game. He
Mm.
wasted 45 seconds
Oh
taking a free kick.
Jesus. Oh my days. Yeah. Yeah. He just wasted so much time trying to take that free kick. It was ridiculous. And then yeah, delivery at the end wasn't brilliant either. But yeah. Oh.
Yeah, time was of the essence in that
Mm.
situation,
Yeah.
and rather than just taking it from where the referee tells you to take it, he just kept moving it
Mhm.
and moving it. Uh, and eventually, when he took the free kick, it was rubbish, and it went away out wide. Harry Maguire tried to keep it alive to no avail, and just a woeful ball. At that stage in the game, when you're 3-2 down, you launch it down the middle and hope that somebody gets a flick on.
Mhm.
You don't, slice it out wide. That was really poor after the delay. Yeah, the referee kept forcing him to move it to where it should have been taken from. Why didn't he just take it from there in the first place and stop trying to gain an advantage? Just, just really annoyed me that because it wasted time that we didn't have, and
Yep.
and then the third goal, just Martinez. I'm looking at Martinez there. Okay,
From the butcher to the bread knife.
yeah. How can he leave it? What is he doing? He cannot just assume that's going
Mm.
wide.
Mhm.
Yeah, yes, it was a header that swerved back in, but as a defender on the goal line, you can't just assume anything. You have to just clear
No,
it.
you really can't. You need to know exactly where you are. You need to know your bearings. And yeah, he's not been the same for a while. It's only a matter of time before we can start talking about him. You know.
Yeah, ever since he come back from his injury, it's
Yeah.
not been the same player at all.
No.
Even his distribution has gone downhill a bit.
Yeah. And the Mansecutioner comments here that he can potentially see us going for Ignacio from Sporting.
Yeah, that's a possibility. But one thing I want to be clear about is that we don't have a Ten Hag situation where we're signing half the sporting team.
Yes, that. Yeah, you need to. Yeah, we need to stop that nonsense. We need to understand it's two different leagues, it's two different levels as well. So if we just sign a whole bunch of Sporting or Portuguese play based players that don't take well to this league, then
Yeah, I think in the summer it should be one sporting player at the most,
mm,
and that's it. I don't want to be signing three or four other players over the course of the next 2 years. And I don't want the manager to have a free run in the transfer market either. That hasn't worked. There
yeah.
needs to be a collective process. Obviously, it's not going to involve Dan Ashworth anymore, but
Hmm.
no way should Ruben
And
Amorim.
but this is my concern though, Carl, because obviously we've discussed on here before that with the new manager, we understand he's got a new style and system, right? But we don't have the players to fit that ideally, and so the
Mhm.
recruitment has to pan out according to that. But in the meantime, this is a results based industry. So if he doesn't pick up enough points playing the system he wants to play, then it's going to be bleak.
Yeah, he's absolutely wedded to his formation and his
Hmm.
style, and even if he doesn't have the players at the moment to play it,
Yep.
so this is why, as he says, we're going to suffer, and boy, have we suffered already this week,
Hmm.
and there could
I
be
see
more
the
to
logic
come.
in it from one sense because obviously, like you said, if I want to do this in the summer, then why would I wait till the summer? Because if I start now, then I at least have a foundation to work with, which makes sense. But at the same time, this is a results based industry, so
Yeah, and
if you're not picking up enough points, then you're in big trouble in this league. But then I also understand it's can be seen as abandoning your principles if you then switch to a back four or go for something more traditional for us. You know.
Ten Hag abandoning his principles ultimately
Hmm.
didn't work. So
Yep.
and Ruben Amorim has been brought in to bring his football to Old Trafford.
And
So
we've
he
seen
should.
that. We've seen that like he's implemented his own style. Like we can see it just even in the short time that he's made changes.
Yeah, definitely. Monte says we were linked with him during Ten Hag. i- Is the only reason I say that. But if we go get Gyökeres or Quinta, then yeah, we need to diversify. Yeah, I
Mm,
would say yeah, the most likely signing that we make from Sporting is either Gyökeres or Quinta, the winger, the
mm.
17-year-old winger. It'd be one of
But
them
he's
two.
he's right sided as well though, isn't he? He's very young. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? Ahmad
For
Diallo is
me,
excelling in that position, so
yeah,
I don't
that's what
think
I
we
mean. He's doing quite well. Like my main priority would probably be a left wing back. Um,
1,000%.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. See, I don't know what quality of wing back we could get in Jan, but if I were in charge, I would probably look to get in like a regulon in January with a view to get Alfonso Davies in the summer. But that's me being very idealistic.
Mm, I liked half of what you said there. And that,
Probably not the regulon half, but
yeah.
I'm being very realistic there. Beggars can't be choosers, Carl, and I know he's into the last year of his contract. And even last year, when we gave him up halfway through the season, which made no sense to me, he went to Brentford, who play with a back five, and he was assisting goals and getting attacking returns and whatnot. In this current system under Amarim, I think he could be a useful rotational option.
Um, Probably won't revisit that one because
Mm.
Ineos is so determined to do things different from the previous regime. I don't think they'll go after a player who was already at the
To
club
be
before.
honest, shout out to Malasia. He looked decent when I've seen him. Obviously, he needs to build up fitness slowly. But yeah, for someone who's been out for so long, it's not been bad.
Yeah, if we're going to wait to the summer to get Davis, I think we will struggle along with Malasia and Mazarahi are in that position.
Mm,
I didn't understand why Mazrahi didn't start against Forest, by the way. I think
yeah.
I know everybody has to get a rest apparently, but
Hmm.
he's one of those undroppables at the moment. He's one of our key players, one of our
Oh,
best
definitely.
performers.
Probably our signing of the season. I was a tad surprised actually. I thought Euro would probably make his start against Victoria Pizan on Thursday. But yeah, this coach hasn't put out the same 11, has he? Rotation is the name of the game for him.
What's really galling is that when I seen the 11 prior to the Forest game, I
Hmm.
thought, yeah, that's very close to our strongest 11,
Mm,
in my opinion, except for
mm,
Dallo at left wing back.
Hmm.
and obviously Maserati would get into it as well. It seemed like a very strong team, one close to the one that I would pick. Yet we
Yeah,
lost. We lost 3-2.
yeah,
Um, so it shows you how far we are off from um,
definitely.
getting anywhere in this league.
Hmm.
Um,
But I think the frustrating thing as well, though, Carl, is when you look back at it, it's that some of the goals we conceded, it's so poor. It's preventable.
Mans Kirchner says, "Bruce, you're not fun. Allow this Regulon talk." Um,
Who would you rather I target than Mancushina in January? Ah.
and it's not the first time you've mentioned that name either.
Well, no, because honestly, I just think it's one of the easiest ones to do. Like he already knows Manchester, he's already been there, he's in the final year of his contract. It would be a nice, easy deal, and especially in January. Um, and yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm not like a huge fan of his by any means. It's more a means to an end.
Yeah, and Alvaro Fernandez is a very easy deal to do, but the only way we do that is if he's going to be first choice. If he's not first
That's
choice,
the thing. If we get Alvaro Fernandez, then you can kiss Davies goodbye.
yeah, it's all about can we get Davis over the line.
Hmm.
Bayern are still trying to tie him down. Real Madrid are interested,
Yeah,
and,
exactly. So we have to be in the conversation, though. These are the kind of targets that we need to have if we
and
are to really progress.
but Omar Barada was very ambitious in getting Laniero
Yeah.
when Real Madrid wanted him, and he
Hmm.
succeeded. Um, Hopefully he can do that again. And this again brings me back to our earlier point. Omar Barada is very hands-on when it comes to recruitment, doesn't he?
Hmm.
So, what was even the point in bringing Ashworth in the first place?
Yeah. So that's the other thing, isn't it? Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Which is why we have to keep an eye on it to see if they do actually replace him or not. Because at this moment in time, I'm just gonna put it down to like paper talk and people just
it
speculating
feels like
because
we're
that's
back.
what they do.
It feels like we've come full circle after all this director of football talk. We're back to a
Hmm.
situation that we were in under David Gill and Ed Woodward, with the CEO as the kingmaker, and
Yeah.
he makes all the.
But again, if you've got somebody competent in that position, then that's totally fine.
Yeah, but I didn't think that that was his area of expertise. But
Yeah.
no, he didn't value Ashwell's opinion, and neither did Jim Radcliffe. So
Mm.
he had to go because he's just wasting his time sitting there, isn't he?
Hmm.
Um, but with the Southgate thing, then I'm sorry, I can't. That is a sackable offence.
Yeah, I can't entertain that at all. Especially what you remember from him at club level uh, doesn't qualify him to get any top Premier League job.
No, I like if Dan Ashworth was still at Brighton, they wouldn't want Gareth Southgate as a
Yeah.
manager. Yeah, absolutely ridiculous to even suggest that.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, it just seems as if his knowledge didn't stretch out any further than England, and that's just not good enough. Constantly recommending British targets needs to.
But again, 5 months is a very harsh time to judge a DOF.
So I want to mention yet another poor performance by Diogo Dallo against Forest. What
Mm,
a horrendous season he is having. He doesn't stop
mm,
any crosses coming in. If you look at one or two of the goals,
hmm.
I mean the cross comes in so easily. He's nowhere near
It's
closing the guy down.
his
And
best season was last season, and that was on the right hand side, and
yeah,
he's not really been used there this season. But even when we have seen him, like in the past, we used to say, "Oh, his best attributes are going forward," but we've not really been seeing that either, have we, Carl?
no, I mean he missed a great chance against Arsenal. If you remember,
Yeah, yeah.
he
The
also
first half, he had the best chance of the game for us.
yeah he missed an open goal against West Ham.
Yeah.
Against Forest, he put another one into Rose Ed.
Hmm.
Uh, I think I think last season he might have peaked. Um, last
And we've
season,
we've always said on this show that listen, he is a rotational option at best. Even when people are hyping him, I think on here we said, yeah, no more than a rotation option.
at the moment, I wouldn't even have him on the bench. No, do you know?
Mm,
At his very best, I don't rate him. But you see, at the moment, he's nowhere near his best. He is
yeah.
horrendous at the moment.
And
He,
you see, Mansecutioner, this is why I advocate for people like Regulon.
But I want to come to a story that's been doing the rounds in the last week or so, and Ben Jacobs has been reporting it today again, that Real Madrid have Diogo Dallo on their radar. Oh, I love it. I love reading.
Okay, for what?
Is he going to make the tea?
uh,
um, Man United sources insist Dallo is not for sale. That's a negotiating position. But
hmm.
those close to the Spanish giants believe an offer in the region of £45 million might change.
Listen, who's
uh,
reporting this, Kyle?
Ben Jacobs, who is a
Ben Jacobs. I need you to put the crack pipe down, sir. Listen, we are less than a month away from the transfer window opening, and Trent Alexander-Arnold is free to talk to them. And you're
yeah,
telling me
yeah.
about 45 million for Diego Dallo? Get out of here, man. Ben Jacobs. Yeah. Do you know what? I might need to go abuse him on Twitter?
The one thing I will say though is that he's very good when it comes to Ineos.
Ah,
He does seem to have an insider there when it comes to Ineos. He's
okay. But that fee
um
is mad as well. Like, even in today's market, I know it's a bit crazy. 45 million.
I
World's
know.
gone mad.
I tell you what, I'll drive him to the airport myself for
Oh, hell
45
yeah.
minutes.
Yeah, yeah. I'll take it all
But
day, every day. I just don't buy it. It's nonsense.
yeah, yeah, I would be happy to let him go for half of that money.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. So hopefully Trent signs a new contract. That's all I can say. Uh,
No, I think he can cause less damage over there. I actually want him to go to Madrid.
yeah, but they've got Connor Bradley to replace him. He isn't that bad. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, yeah,
I wonder if they'll take Salah too. Hmm.
yeah. They just made their opening offer to Salah, who's on fire this
Mhm.
season. Um, looking at the results at the weekend, I mean, Liverpool didn't even play, and everything went their way.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't realize how close Chelsea were to them. They're only 4 points off now, albeit they played a game more.
But yeah, game in hand, isn't it? So yeah, yeah. But yeah,
Uh,
no, it's one of those seasons, isn't it, where everyone's sort of beating each other. It's kind of what happened in the Leicester City year, except unfortunately, it's not Leicester City that's up there. It's bloody Liverpool.
the Monsecutioner says that's like switching out your toilet paper for sandpaper and too crunchy leaves brush.
Are you talking from experience, the executioner? That's oddly specific.
Um, yeah, to me there wouldn't be a you know, if you bring in Region to play left wing back, it wouldn't be a massive upgrade on Dallo. To be honest with you,
No, no, it's literally just a rotation option and someone who's fit and someone who's actually left sided.
yeah, I do want someone left sided, but yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
let's hope
Because you
Owen
see,
Brada
yeah, because you see
and
with the people in this fan base, because they've all lost their minds, Carl. So if we say that Dallo's not good enough or he should be dropped, they're gonna come and suggest to you that we try out Anthony there.
no, I'm not.
Exactly, exactly.
Notice we haven't seen him at all. I think
Hmm.
since he
Well,
got that
against
start.
Arsenal when he messed up the free kick routine. Ah,
Yeah, why? Yeah, I think the board are determined to get rid of him as soon as he possibly can.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if we ship him out in January, to be honest. And I think they'll be ruthless with that one, just like they were with Jaden Sancho. But less said about that, the better at the moment, because he's putting in performances.
this is what he does. He has a decent spell and then he'll fall off again.
Yeah,
So no, nothing he's done in the last week makes me miss him. Let's put it that way. I'm I'm actually delighted that Chelsea Chelsea being so far off 14th in the league means we're going to get that 25 million for him in the summer.
yeah,
And every penny counts for United because I believe we're very close to the PSR line. So
yeah.
we need every bit of cash that we can possibly get. Hello,
Hmm.
Ineos have been very good at wasting, burning through cash,
Hmm.
spending 3 million on Dan Ashworth and then sacking him after 5 months, and then giving Ten Hag an extra year and then sacking him in October.
Bringing in a whole new coaching staff, and then obviously they all
Yeah,
had to be let go.
yeah. So they keep talking about making all these savings in different departments, yet
Yeah,
when it comes to the playing staff and the coaching staff, they've just been burning through cash like
Hmm.
worse than what we've seen under Ed Woodward. Um, yeah, so all this leads me to believe, not believe, but makes me question: do any of us on Jim Radcliffe actually know what they're doing? That question has to be asked. Yes, time will tell, but the doubts now are starting to creep in now. For me anyway. What do you think?
It's early days, but obviously from the outside looking in, it does look a bit shambolic. But yeah, I think at the moment they're just trying to rearrange all the pieces and try to get something formulated. I know it was very chaotic at Chelsea. I know I'll keep using them as an example, but it's because it looked like an utter shambles when Todd came in and they were signing everyone. And finally now it's starting to take shape. Even at the end of last season, I thought it was ridiculous when they sacked Poch, because Poch finally, towards the end of the season, it seemed to click for him. I think they won like the last 6 games in a row, and he seemed to get them ticking. And then he was out the door. So it's one of those.
I think absolutely everybody at Chelsea, including the new manager, is surprised by how well it's going this
Mm.
season. I didn't. They're like well ahead of schedule.
Yeah,
They
some of
did.
it can be attributed as well to by the other teams, like your Man Cities and your Arsenals.
Yeah, Man City have completely fallen off.
Yeah, so you have to factor that in as well, and Arsenal as well. I think psychologically, running City so close the last 2 seasons and falling behind, I think they're suffering from that this time round.
Yeah, because Arsenal will have put in so much energy into the last 2 seasons, and
Hmm. And it's
like
very hard to keep that going because, yeah, if you think back to when Liverpool thought they were going to do the quadruple, and the next season they were shattered. Uh, they didn't really
Mhm.
challenge for anything the season after that.
Yeah, when you play such quote unquote heavy metal football, you have
Yeah.
to keep changing your squad because
Hmm.
people run out of gas when you
Yeah.
ask them to play such high intensity football. But it's so frustrating that at United, clearly already we can see it's going to take time for things to change
Yeah.
under Ruben Amorim.
Absolutely.
Look at the two teams at the top of the league. They just brought in new managers in the summer, and look
Yep.
look how well they're doing. Would
Yeah.
never happen at United. It's so, and
Yeah.
even when Fergie, we'll go back to this again. He took 4 years to win a trophy and 7 years
Hmm.
to win the league. Liverpool are going to win the league probably in Arnie Slot's first season,
Hmm.
and quite possibly in Chelsea are going to finish second in their new manager's first season. Yeah, these things just don't happen at Man United. It's just so annoying that
Mm.
in the last 11 years we've failed, and even when we get it right, it takes ages for it to happen. Yet other clubs, it happens overnight, just like that. It just clicks for them. Um, yeah,
I
we
mean,
just
to be fair, with Liverpool, they were in their slumber for donkey's years. It was really that one masterstroke in getting Klopp in there at the right time with Edwards that really changed their
yeah,
fortunes around. So it really does come down to one or two appointments. Really, you just have to time it right.
and we all want to see Man City get relegated
Hmm.
with the 1-1-5 situation, but without Man City cheating, Liverpool might have 3 or 4 Premier League titles under Jurgen Klopp. We have to remember
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. It's true. It's true.
Um, I think one season they had 97 points without winning the league, which is
Yeah,
absolutely incredible.
yeah. It's insanity, isn't it? I remember Jose's Madrid did that and lost out to Barca. I don't know how you recover from that psychologically when you when you're so good and it's not enough. I imagine it's the same for any sprinter in the era of Usain Bolt.
Yeah, we're certainly not Usain Bolt at the moment now.
Hmm.
We are Usain Bolt actually supports Man United, but it must be as excruciating for him as it is for everyone else at the moment. Um, let's hope it doesn't go to 3 straight defeats in the league, which that hasn't happened since Van Gaal season, December 2015 was the last time we lost
Mm.
3 straight Premier League matches.
Oh, so that was in December as well. Okay.
Mm. So hopefully we can. take
Mm.
advantage of Man City being very, very poor at the moment as well.
See,
I
I
think
always worry about that, Carl. When they do badly, I always think, oh no, we're going to be the bogey team that gives them their confidence back.
But I thought that when they beat Nottingham Forest, but then they
Yeah,
drew with Crystal
with
Palace at the
Palace,
weekend.
yeah, yeah.
Although I have to say Rico Lewis's red card was very harsh, but it's
Mm.
hard to have any sympathy with Man City when it comes to decisions going against them because they've had so many decisions that
So
went in
many
their
go in their
favour.
favour.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. And then after City, we've got what, Bournemouth, I think, the week after. I can't remember. We've got a
Yeah,
Boxing
that's a
Day now.
very hard game as well.
Yeah, yeah. Is it Bournemouth and Wolves? Is it? I think we might have
Yeah,
Wolves on Boxing
I
Day.
think I think
Yeah.
Bournemouth before Christmas and then Wolves on
Yep.
Boxing Day. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. And I know the first week of January we've got Liverpool. So yeah, it's
Oh,
it's
don't
not
even go
it's not
there.
it's not looking good.
Um, yeah, those are like United we're 13th in the league. All games are difficult
Hmm.
for us. Um, yep,
I'm pretty
Bournemouth.
much I just think we're a cup team, Kyle, this season. Like the league is pretty much a write off. I'm just looking at the league as a testing ground for Amarim to see who fits his system and who doesn't.
Yeah, but he needs to get results because we've seen how Rufus Radcliffe can be. So
Hmm.
he can't keep losing league matches.
He can't. But then if you sack him, then that is absolutely ridiculous. Like I just,
Well, I think anything's possible now. You know,
Mm,
but let's see. I do hope that we can go on a cup run and win the Europa League or the FA Cup or something like
hmm.
that. But yeah, Bournemouth at home. It's a few games away yet, but
Yeah.
that in previous seasons might have seemed like a banker. But
Nope.
the way they're playing under this manager,
Hmm.
and I guess they've already beaten Arsenal, haven't they, this
Yep.
season? Um, they did they beat Man City as well? I
No,
can't remember.
only actually did
No, I
they? I
think they
don't know
lost
actually.
1-0. They
Oh,
lost
did
one
I?
0 I think against Man City. But yeah,
Yeah.
they're doing really well. And remember last season they thrashed us at Old Trafford.
Hmm.
So this is
Hmm.
going to be such a hard game. And
Yeah.
there's no when you look at what's to come in the next few weeks, there's no fixture there that says that's 3 points for United. None.
No. No, there's no. Yeah, it's things are only one on paper, but nothing's one on paper. You know what I mean? You have to actually turn up.
So Victoria on Thursday
Yep.
evening in the Europa League,
Hmm.
they're just one position below us, I think, in the
Hmm.
table, and so they've had a decent campaign for a team from the Czech Republic. It's an away fixture, so I anticipate this is not going to be easy at all, and no result would surprise me on the night. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. I had a quick look at their team sheet as well. They've got Vidra up front, who some might remember from his time at Burnley.
no, I don't.
Well, that's what we have to look forward to.
But I fully expect them to turn into prime Barcelona when we play them.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Think back to Istanbul Başakşehir some years ago when we came up against 35-year-old Demba Ba.
uh, yeah, we need to win that game, and then
Hmm.
brings us a step closer to qualification. But yeah, it's not going to be easy, I don't think. And just to warn anyone who doesn't know, it is a 5:45 kickoff in the UK, that match. So sometimes people can be caught out by that, thinking
Hmm.
that it's going to be an 8 o'clock game, but it's not. It's very very early game, so make sure to get home early from work, people, for this one. And I will be. The plan is for me to do a stream straight after that game as well. So hopefully we're talking about a win on that occasion and not a defeat. And
Hmm.
yeah, never a dull moment at Man United, is there? There's
No, and always surprises as well. Like every morning you wake up, there's something new. So hey ho.
yeah, like you would think a 3-2 defeat would be the biggest story of the weekend for United. But
Yeah.
United is something else as an institution that would fade into the background quite quickly. Um, there's no other club like it. So I just want to touch on this the tiniest of positives from that Forest game, and that's obviously the goals. And so Hoyland is starting to hit a wee bit of form again. What now? That goal was not sexy at all, but that's the type of goal I
No,
want to
but
see a number nine
it's a
score.
striker's finish, isn't it? That's we need some of that. I don't need it to be
I want
pretty. I just need it to hit the back of the net.
I want to see those type of goals from a number nine in
Yeah.
every game,
Hmm.
at least on a regular basis, where he's scoring rebounds, he's scoring from crosses, he's scoring from pullbacks. He's scoring headers at the back post. I want to see real strikers goals. We know we're capable of scoring from distance or scoring
Hmm.
spectacular goals, but to get into high positions in the league, you need to be scoring tap-ins, and that's what I want to see more of. Because so many wasted chances this season, where balls are flying
Definitely.
across the 6 yard box and nobody's there to
Hmm.
top it in. So it was those types of goals make me as happy as a Garnacho overhead kick.
Oh,
Um,
definitely, definitely. These are your bread and butter goals. You need this. Like, don't get me wrong, the overhead for kicks amazing, but I need more of this because this is what you need consistent.
and it was a wonderful move and a wonderful finish for the second goal from
Hmm.
Bruno Fernandes. And Ahmad heavily involved again. Ahmad is just another undroppable.
Yeah.
Like Ahmad and Mazarahi, for me, they always have to be on the team sheet. I know you
Hmm.
want to maybe sub them in certain games to give them a rest because there's so many games in December, January, but they always have to start for me because so many players are out of form. You have to play the players that are in form in every game to give yourself. And that's another important thing about Ahmad is that he makes things happen from nowhere. He goes past people, uses his
Yep.
skill. Given that we're still building a structure, building a playing style, the players are still getting used to the formation and the style of play and what they're being asked to do by the manager. We're going to be relying on individual brilliance to win games, and Ahmad
Hmm.
provides that. So that's why I feel he has to start in most games.
Most definitely. But yeah, you can see that though in some of the movement. Like the players aren't quite up to scratch on where they need to be. Some of the mistimed passes. I can see what they're trying to do, but it needs to be better. But that will come with time, hopefully. And one or two personnel changes need to happen as well to adapt and aid this system.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I certainly
Uh,
won't be surprised if we see a new number 10 in, like a proper 10,
yeah, but I don't think that'll come to the
till the
the summer.
summer.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I can say. But if we could just get like a left wing back in January, I'd be delighted with
Hmm.
that. Because it feels like we've got more to work with up front all of a sudden. Remember, we felt a few weeks ago as if
Yeah.
nobody's scoring goals, but I don't
Hmm.
think that's the issue at the moment now. I think the issue is leaking goals has become
Yeah.
a problem again. Conceding goals
Well,
from
you
set
say that,
pieces.
Carl. Against Arsenal, I thought we were absolutely toothless up front. I thought everything else was quite good because I was quite happy with that first half. The way we controlled the game, I thought we nullified them. I didn't really think they tested us from open play.
But I think it may have been a case of we were putting all our efforts into nullifying them and
Hmm.
abandoning our attacking threat.
Yeah, because in the final set, like, because the fact that our best chance fell to Dallo says it all, really.
Oh, so many chances fall to him. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, In addition to the chances of already mentioned earlier, he had a one-on-one in a game which he missed. I think it was Brentford, and yeah, he just couldn't hit a barn door, and so
Hmm.
forget it when it comes to Dallo. Um, Probably one of the most overrated players at United in the last 10 years, along with
Mm.
Fred and Van der Beek, who somebody
Ugh.
mentioned to me earlier. Yeah, so yeah, not for me, not my cup of tea at all, and he continues to prove me right, sadly. So I shall wrap it up there, Brush. Thanks for coming on as
Hmm.
always.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Uh, and thanks to all the people who joined us in the chat and get more of your comments in. Smash a like on the video, it really helps the channel. and subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. And I will aim to be back again on Thursday evening after the game. And I shall see you later then, Brush.
Yep. Take care.